Hello guys, this is Dr. Possibility from Excel Academy, and in today's class I'm just going to explain to you on how to sketch the graphs of modulus functions. So our first question is f of x is equal to modulus of x. So let me quickly solve this and explain. Okay, so the first question is saying f of x is equal to modulus of x. So f of x is just simply equal to the modulus of x. So the best way you can solve this one is just by simply finding y is equal to x. Okay, so you know that, let's say you have y is equal to x and you can get any coordinate of x, and then these ones will give you the output, which is y. So imagine if we were to get -2, we surely have -2 as our y. If we were to get our 0, we surely have a 0 as our y. If you were able to get a 10, you're going to find that y is equal to 10. So how will the curve of this, or the line of this equation, come out? Okay, so we simply have the y-axis, which is this guy, and we also have the x-axis, which is that guy. Okay, so if we were to sketch the graph of y is equal to x, that graph will look like that. So if we were to sketch the graph of y is equal to x, it's going to look like that. So that is y is equal to x. Now, what about the modulus of that expression, the modulus of this equation? Okay, so the modulus of this equation, we are making sure that there are no values of y which are negative, okay, because we are having a modulus there. So what we will simply do, we are just going to reflect the negative side to the positive side. You reflect the negative side to the positive side. So this simply means that this part will be reflected like that, and then this side, which is positive, will just simply maintain like that. So this is now our y is equal to modulus of x. So if I were you, who is just learning this concept, I would advise you first to know the basic, which is knowing how to sketch the graph of this guy without the modulus. So when you know how to sketch that, you'll be able to sketch the other values. Okay, so let me quickly go up and check up my next question, which is f of x is equal to the absolute value of x plus 5. Okay, so this is also easy, guys. This is also easy. So how can you write it? So you have f of x is equal to the absolute value of x plus 5. Okay, the absolute value of x plus 5. So how can you easily do it? So like I said initially, I said the best thing you can do first is by sketching the graph without the absolute value. So you have y is equal to, you get what is inside there, it's going to be x plus 5. Okay, so when you get what is inside, you're going to have x plus 5. But guys, look at that, look at that, look at that, look at that. Okay, so if you look at this, you really need to be so careful and look at what is the x-intercept and what is the y-intercept. Those are the most important ones, the x-intercept and the y-intercept. Okay, so I'll start with the y-intercept. So when you look at the y-intercept of that guy, which is x plus 5, so if we look at the y-intercept, okay, if we look at the y-intercept, please don't mind, my handwriting is really bad. So with the y-intercept, it is where x is equal to 0. Okay, so if we get x is equal to 0, we are going to have y is equal to 0 plus 5. Y is equal to 0 plus 5. That means that y is just simply equal to 5. Okay, so that is the first thing which is very important when you are working out these guys. Okay, so the next one which you need to know is the x-intercept. Okay, so when you look at the x-intercept, I'll write this as that x-intercept. Guys, don't laugh at my spellings. And yeah, so when you look at the x-intercept, let me quickly do it for you. So the x-intercept is where this y is 0. Okay, so from that equation, when y is equal to 0, what are we having? So 0 is equal to x plus 5, of which we are going to know that x will simply be equal to -5. Okay, so those are the most important things you need to take note whenever you are sketching the graphs of these guys. Okay, so now let me sketch the graph which we really want, and that graph is y is equal to x plus 5. Taking note that the y-intercept is equal to 5 and the x-intercept is equal to -5. Okay, so at the y-intercept, we know that x is equal to 0, and at the x-intercept, we know that y is equal to 0. Okay, those are the important things you really need to take note whenever you're working out graphs. Okay, so I have already shown you the y and x intercept, and this is a straight line. Okay, so I'll quickly draw my x-axis, and I also draw my x-axis, and this is my y-axis. Okay, so two important points which I have illustrated. The first one is y has to be what? Y has to be 0 somewhere. So x is 0 in the y-axis, and we said at this point it is 5. Okay, and then the other point is -5, where y is equal to 0. We know that y is 0 is 0 in the what? In the x-axis, and x is 0 in the y-axis. So if we were to sketch that graph would look like that. Okay, that graph would look like that. So make sure that you indicate these coordinates, which is -5 and also 5. Please make sure that you indicate those points, because if you don't indicate those points, you are going to be penalized. Okay, please make sure that you indicate those points. Now, what is the modulus? So this which we have drawn is y is equal to the absolute y is equal to x plus 5. Now, what about the modulus? So if you look at the modulus, we are just again reflecting that part. So that means that this will go that way, and this will maintain its way like that. So this is what we are looking for. Okay, so let me just draw it on a spare space. Does that word exist? Okay, all right. Anyway, I'm not from England, so I do believe you guys, you're going to understand that my English cannot be perfect. Okay, so let me draw my axis. So I've drawn my y-axis, and now let me draw my x-axis. So according to that graph we initially drew, so you are going to find that our graph will simply be like that, and then once it reaches there, it's going to reflect like that. Remember, there you have to indicate 5, and there you have to indicate -5. So this is the graph of y is equal to modulus of what? X plus 5. Okay, that's it, ladies and gentlemen. Please don't mind my handwriting, but get my my explanation, because this is my first time using these devices, so expect me to be learning bit by bit. Okay, so the first one is f of x is equal to 2 plus absolute value of x minus 7. Okay, little bit tricky, but it's just the same thing. It's just the same thing, guys. So you need to make sure that you really know how to do it. So we have y is equal to 2 plus that, then you have x minus 7. Okay, so when you have such an expression like I explained in the previous example, the first thing you need to ask yourself is what are the y-intercept and what are the x-intercept. Okay, so we are just going to pick the first thing you also need to take note of is this value of y. So what is the value of y when x is what? Is 0. What is the value of y when x is equal to 0? Actually, in some books, this can be said to be the vertical shift, yeah, something like that. But anyway, let's do it. So you find that the y-intercept here, the y-intercept is going to be 2 plus 0 minus what? 7. Okay, so the y-intercept here, it will be y is equal to 2 plus 7, and you know that this will give you what? 9. Okay, so that is your y-intercept. Many people forget to put these y-intercept, x-intercept. They really forget and they end up being penalized. So that's why I'm emphasizing on us making sure that we take note of these important facts. Okay, then once we have that, what are we going to do next? Once we have that, what are we going to do next? Okay, so let's take let's say x is equal to 7. What is y? Okay, so when you take x is equal to 7, what is y? Okay, so taking x is equal to 7, so when you take x is equal to 7, I want to make sure that that guy is not there. So when x is equal to 7, you're going to find that y will be equal to 2. Okay, when x is equal to 7, y is equal to 2. Okay, then once we do this, we are done. Once we do this, you are really done, because you know that if this guy was to be 0, if the y was to be 0, you're going to find that automatically this guy is not going to the negative side. Okay, it's not going to the negative side, but the refraction is taking place on 7,2. The refraction is taking place on what? 7,2. This is how easy it is for this guy. So for this guy, when the question is like this, make sure that you look for what is y when x is equal to 0 and what is y when x is making that expression to be equal to 0. Okay, and actually this is just the vertical shift we are doing here. But anyway, that's the best approach you can ever find. Okay, so let me quickly draw this graph. So this graph will be something like that. Oh, as usual, my lines are really bad, and you know, guys, I'm just learning to use this system, but with time I'll be perfect, because we do believe that with practice we become perfect. Okay, so that is your y intercept and this is your x-axis. Okay, this is your x-axis, this is your y-axis. So we have said that when x is equal to 7, y is equal to 2. Okay, so let's say 7 is there and y is somewhere there. So if we were to sketch this graph, how will it look like? So it will go like that way, and it also goes that way. Okay, so remember, there it was 9, and then there it was 2. Okay, so these are the points you really need to consider whenever you are sketching such a graph. Okay, so guys, this is how easy that question was. Okay, this is how easy that question was. Okay, so this is the graph. Just by simply doing that, you are all well and good. Please, in a case I'm too fast, please feel free to replay the video and get each and every concept. Okay, then the next guy which we are going to do is this one. Oh wow, I have received many questions from you guys asking me the possibility, how do you do this one? Okay, but because this one is having a fraction somewhere, I'm going to pick it up, the fifth one. That means that this guy, I'll give it as your assignment. So please make sure that you guys, you go through you go through, or you solve whatever I have given you. So I'm going to solve the other one, and then I'm going to leave the other one for you. Okay, so the concept is just the same for both this one and that one, but according to my experience, I've observed that when giving an example, if I give a fraction, people won't understand, but if I give something that is straight, people will really understand, and then they'll apply there. Okay, so let me quickly go down and solve with you. Okay, so guys, make sure that you practice. Okay, so the fifth one, remember I'm doing the fifth one. So the fifth one is saying f of x is simply equal to the absolute value of x minus 6, and also plus the absolute value of x plus 2. All right, let me just recheck and see if at all I have copied the right thing. Okay, so what I'm going to do to this question is the same thing that you guys are supposed to do to the other one. Okay, so quickly, let me work it out. Okay, so what I'm going to solve is something that has a certain part which I'll also solve later on. So the first thing I'm going to explain, I'm going to get x minus 6. Okay, x minus 6 can simply be written as negative x minus 6. Okay, and it can also be written as positive x minus 6. Okay, so that's the first part, and let's look at the other guy, who is that other guy, which is x plus 2. So if I was to get x plus 2, what am I having? So if I was to get x plus 2, I'm going to say x plus 2 is the same as negative x plus 2 and also positive x plus 2. Okay, please guys, I'm begging you guys to get the concept and don't mind my handwriting. Okay, so this is what is going to help you to analyze whatever we are going to solve. So this is what is going to help you, this part. Okay, so make sure that you you take note of that part. Okay, so now after knowing this, we are now going to use piewise expression. We're going to use piewise expression to work out that. Okay, so now let's look at the critical points. Okay, let's look at the critical point. So the critical points we have is x is equal to 6 and also x is equal to -2. So these I'm going to call them as your critical points. Okay, these I'm going to call them as your critical points. So if these are your critical point for that expression, what you now need to do is to test those critical points. So this is my number line. Please guys, you don't really need to write all this, but I'm writing this so that you guys can understand. So this is my number line, and you know there is my 0, and there I'm having a what? A -2, and there I'm having a 6. So when you look at testing this critical point, the first thing I'm going to test is how is the behavior when I'm on the red side. So the first thing I need to get is to check how is the behavior on this part, okay, the red side. Okay, and then the other thing I'm going to check is how is the behavior on this blue guy. So in between these guys, how is the behavior? Okay, so like that. And then I'm also going to check up how is the behavior on the other side after 6. So these are the guys I'm going to check up on. So if I was to have this, I can come up with 3 expressions. Okay, I can come up with 3 expressions. So the first expression I'm going to come up with is on this red guy, which is x should be less than -2. Look at that. Because all the values that are there, their x is what? Less than -2. Because this side you have -3, -4, -5, and so on, which are less than -2. Okay, I'm going to skip this part and I'm going to go this side. So when you talk of the green side, I'm just saying x should be greater than what? 6. Isn't that simple? So this portion is x should be greater than 6. Now, what about the middle portion? So the middle portion, you're going to write -2 should be less than x and should be less than what? 6. Okay, so now if you look at this part, this function, for this function to be continuous, you need to make sure that this guy has an equal to. Okay, this guy has an equal to. So I'm going to get this part, that part, and that part, and express this into a piewise function using the what? The function I have been given. Okay, so this is a little bit involving. So let me go back to my expression, which is y is equal to x minus 6, and then I'm going to say plus, we are going to say x plus 2. Okay, there we go. So this is what we have. So like I said, I'm going to express this into a piewise function. I'm going to express this into a piewise function. So if I was to write a piewise function, f of x will be equal to, so there I'm going to say that. Okay, so the first one I'll get is x is greater than x is less than -2. X is less than -2, and the other one I'm going to get is the one which was -2 is less than or equal to x, which is less than or equal to 6. Okay, and then the last one I'm going to get is x is greater than 6. Okay, so ladies and gentlemen, I've picked up that. So the next thing that I need to do is for me to express the piecewise function. So I'll start with the first one. Okay, please follow me nicely. So if you get a number less than -6, less than -2, sorry, you're going to plug in there. So this will be negative, not so. So there, this will be negative, let's say -3. So it's going to be -3 minus what? 6, okay? But if we go up there, there is this part which most of our lectures and tutors do not explain. So this is the part we are looking for. So since we have found that when you plug in anything less than -2, you are having a negative value. So you're getting that, ladies and gentlemen. So we are going to get the one which is having a what? A negative. We are going to get the guy which is having a negative. So let me quickly work it out. So the guy which is having a negative is -6x minus what? 6, open bracket. Okay, so again you go back and work out this friend of ours. So this friend of ours is just simply x plus 2. So if you get any number less than -2, for example -3, this guy will still be negative, and this guy also add a negative part. So you're going to get a plus which is in that expression, and then you simply multiply -x minus what? 2, not so? That's what we found out. So if we were to work out this, we are going to have -x plus 6 minus x plus 2. Okay, so we are having -2x plus what? 8. Okay, so -2x minus 8 is what we have found. So this thing, guys, this has to go where what? Where x is less than -2 is. So meaning I'm just simply going to get the expression I have found down there, this expression there, so which is -2x plus 8. Okay, so let me quickly plug it in. So I'll just plug it in there. So there it's going to be -2x plus 8. Remember, you can't sketch these graphs minus having these details. Okay, so we are just changing the modulus to what? To piecewise. Okay, so from there, guys, you go on this other friend of ours, which is -2 is less than or equal to x, which is less than or equal to 6. Okay, so here you get a number in between those guys. Okay, you get a number in between those guys. So let me just quickly get rid of this part so that at least I will have space to explain well. Okay, all right, I'm sure it has managed. Okay, so we get a number in between -2 and 6, which can be a 0. So if I put a 0 there, what will happen? You find that the answer will be negative. So automatically here we are getting a negative. Okay, so let me quickly do it for you. So there you're going to find that you're having a negative. So since it is a negative, you're going to get the part which are the negative. So it's going to be negative x minus what? 6 plus. So if you get a 0 and plug in on the above guy, so when you get 0 and plug in there, it's going to be positive. So you're going to get the part for the positive. Okay, so you're going to get the part for the positive for that guy. So no need of adding a negative there. So x plus 2. Okay, that's what we have. So x plus 2, that's what we have there. So if you work it out there, you're going to have x plus 6 plus x plus 2. Okay, for sure you know that that is negative and that is positive, so this guy and that guy, they will go. So this is just simply giving us what? 8. So our value on this part will be what? 8. Okay, I'm sure I have helped on this part. So we do the same thing to x is greater than 6. So the question is, how would the behavior be if at all you got a number which is greater than 6? How would the behavior be if you got a number which is greater than 6? So guys, like I told you, I'm learning using this system. So since I'm learning, expect me to be a bit slow and expect me to also be able to make some wrong handwriting. Okay, so let's get a number greater than 6. So a number greater than 6, for example 7. So if you put a 7 there, this part will be positive. If you put a 7, that part will be positive. That means that we are getting the positive guy. So since we are getting the positive guy, we are going to say x minus what? 6 plus. So if you get a 7 there, it's also give you a positive on that part. Okay, it's going to give you a positive here on this part. So since it has given us a positive on that part, we are also going to get the guy for positive on that side. So if I was to get that guy, what am I having? I'm having x plus what? 2. So working out that, it's going to be x minus 6 plus x plus what? 2. Okay, that's what we are simply having at that point. So if you work out that, you're going to have something like 2x minus 4. Okay, so you're going to get this 2x minus 4 and plug in there. You're going to get 2x minus 4 and plug it in there. So this point, okay, this point will have 2x minus what? 4. 2x minus 4. So you have now done the piecewise expression. You have now done the piecewise expression. So for you to sketch this graph, it is not just going direct or assuming. You need to follow all these steps I've shown you, and then you'll be able to get a boom bonus, which is normally a bingo, because you get it right. Okay, so I have just expressed this guy into a piecewise function. So some lecturers will ask you to express it into piecewise function. Okay, so from there now, this will help you to sketch the graph. This will really help you to sketch the graph. So let me quickly erase as usual. I'm going to have some challenges when erasing, but this time around, like I said, I'm learning, so you find that somehow I'll get it right. So let's try by all means now to sketch the graph. Let's try by all means to sketch the what? The graph. Okay, so I'll be going back and forth, but I think this time around it can be better if I was to open another section of my board. Okay, so the first thing I'll draw is the coordinates. So you have the y-axis and also the x-axis. You have the y-axis and the x-axis. Okay, so let's quickly look at how the graph will look like. So the first guy we are going to use is this guy. So x is less than -2. X is less than -2. So when x is less than -2, we have been told that we have to use this equation. When x is less than -2, we have to use this equation. So if I was to get a value like 1, so if I was to put a -1 there, it will surely be positive. Okay, if I was to get -2, it will surely be what? Positive. And these numbers are increasing. So how will this look like on the equation? So you have -2 there, you have -2 there, and if you look at -2, you find that these guys are not what? Is not part of the answer, is not part of the answer. Okay, so if you check out, you're going to discover that the more you put values going this side, this guy is increasing. So this line will go like that. Okay, so this guy is going like that. So this is the part for what? This is the part for this guy where x is less than -2. Now let's look at where x is greater than 6. So when x is greater than 6, let's say 7, it will be 14. If you put 7 here, it will be 14 minus 4, which is 10. When you put 8, it will be what? It will be when you put 7, it's going to be 14 minus 4, which is 10. When you put 8, it will be 16 minus 4, which is 12. So from that, you're going to find that our graph starting from 6 here, of which we know that 6 is not part of the solution. So from there, it is starting from what? It is starting from somewhere 6 on top, 6, which is not included, and the more you get numbers from this side, the more this guy goes like that. Okay, now ladies and gentlemen, we have found out that this is how this graph is going. Okay, we have found that this is how this graph is going, but the question is, what if you get the values in between -2 and 6? So any value in between -2 and 6 is giving you what? 8. Any value in between -2 and 6 has to give you what? 8. So it's very easy for you to get any value in between there. So any value in between those guys, So, but you need to be really careful on what was found here. So when x was -3, you found that it was what? It was somewhere bigger. Okay, so this was 6 plus 8. They were all above 8. Even this one was above 8. So you really need to be careful by avoiding put it in the same line. So we are saying when x is 2, okay, which is shaded, and when x is also 6, which is shaded, the answer is what? 8. So this graph will simply pass like that. But remember that you have an issue of 8 to be indicated. So make sure that you indicate your 8 there to avoid again being penalized. So you're going to write your 8 somewhere there. So this is just the graph which we were asked to sketch. This is just the graph which we were asked to sketch. So guys, this is all I had for you, and trust me, this is the best concept you can get. So for those who would love to reach me out, you can simply WhatsApp me on +26 09 657474. Oh, I've even forgotten my line, but you can just simply reach me out from there. All right, thank you very much, guys. Have a blessed day and stay blessed.